Great to see you back here on the channel. Nice to see you here. Greetings, good day, good dag. Now, I am Bragi, your host for today, and I am a Viking skop. I am a Viking warrior, and I am also a blacksmith and a teller of tales. And today I would very much like to tell you a Danish folktale. I do love a good Danish folktale, and this one is called the Jutlander and his Stockings. Now you may ask, did Vikings actually wear stockings? Well, not in the way you think of modern stockings. What the Vikings wore, and as well as the Saxons, occasionally, they'd wear kind of a legging which would tie off at the waist, revealing a bit of flesh here, and your legs will be protected. So yes, they did wear hose. They called them hose, not stockings. Stockings was a little bit of a later term. And our story is about a Jutlander, a Viking, very famed Viking with lots of wealth. For he has been trading as well as been raiding, and throughout the years he had gained much finery in clothing, and one of his prized possessions was his very nice hose or stockings. Now, our warrior, he was getting long in the beard. He had been around a long time and had lived many summers and many winters. Travelled the 9 worlds, so they say. And he had going out. He had become very frequently known for drinking mead. And, well, this warrior and this old Viking could drink mead by the horn. Well, one night he was out drinking mead, drinking and drinking, as well as Thor himself was by the table drinking with him, and he'd been drinking all night, and he got to the point where he could not take no more, and it was time for him to leave, to take his leave and go home to his longhouse. Well, he staggered out from the inn or the mead hall, and he came to an old highway in the small village he lived in. But he was so drunk that he fell over and fell asleep. Oh yes, it was that drunk. He had drunk so much mead that his legs were sticking out in the road, this highway, and the rest of his body was on the, well, as in America you may say it's a sidewalk. In this case it was just a siding, a bit of grass. Well, during the night when he was drunk and asleep, this man came along. Not as famous, not as rich as he was. His clothes were tatty, and he had on these tatty old brown stockings, all falling to bits. And when he saw the drunk man, he saw our character, our Jutlander, and he thought, I'm going to have those hose. They are far more, much finer than mine, so I must take them. So he did that. He carefully undid the warrior's boots, took them off, and then he undid the bolt with the stockings or the hose tied up, and he took them off and took his own off and replaced his old tatty ones with the new ones. But he thought, oh, I best not leave this man in the road with no stockings on. That would not be seen right among this Christian community, although there are still some heathens and worshippers of the old gods about still. So he did this. He got the stockings, he put the old brown tatty stockings on our drunk man, and he left. And a few hours later, a man in a wagon was driving past, and he shouted out, "Who's that? Who's those legs down there? If you don't move, I'm going to run them over with my cart." And to this, the drunk man, our man of the story, woke up, and he looked at his legs, at the tatty old brown stockings he had, the hose, and he said, "These are not my legs, drive on." And that is what the man did. He drove on and broke both his legs, and never again did he walk straight, but he carried on drinking and lived to a grand old age. Now, if you have liked this Danish folktale, we have plenty more in a folktale, in a playlist I mean. And I do hope you leave comments to this video of the man for the Jutlander and his stockings. And I will see you in the next video or story. Was they all good health?